What it takes to go from 0 to 10,000 to 100,000 and eventually to 1 million is not the same at each stage. The strategies that get you from nothing to your first $10,000 are completely different from the ones that will get you to six figures and then seven. Most people fail to move forward because they keep repeating the same approach, even when the stage of money they're at requires a new strategy. So let's break this down, step by step, and look at what it actually takes. Starting from zero, the most important thing is survival. At this stage, you don't need to worry about investments or compounding. You need to worry about building consistent income and controlling your spending. The goal is not freedom yet. The goal is momentum. That means taking whatever work you can, building basic skills, and living below your means. Even saving $200 a month may feel small, but this is where habits are built. The key from 0 to 10,000 is cutting unnecessary expenses and increasing income just enough so you can start stacking cash. Think of this as training your financial discipline more than anything else. Reaching your first 10,000 is about proof of concept. You've shown yourself that money can be managed, saved, and grown. At this stage, debt management is critical. If you're carrying credit card debt, car payments, or other high-interest obligations, they will hold you back more than any investment could help you. So from 0 to 10,000, your biggest wins will come from eliminating bad debt, building a small emergency fund, and proving that you can actually keep money instead of watching it slip away. Once you hit 10,000, the next stage, reaching 100,000, requires a shift in thinking. Here, saving alone will not cut it. The math is simple. If you save $500 a month, it will take you 15 years to hit 100,000. That's too slow. To get there faster, you need to raise your income and start investing. The skill you need at this stage is income expansion. That might be through career moves, side businesses, freelancing, or any method that increases the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Many people get stuck in the 10 to 30,000 range because they keep living the same lifestyle as before. They make more money but also spend more money. This is called lifestyle creep, and it's one of the biggest traps that prevents people from ever reaching six figures. If you can avoid that, your 10,000 will grow steadily into 100,000. It will take discipline because this is the point where you'll be tempted to upgrade your car, your apartment, or your habits. But staying consistent and investing even small amounts into index funds, retirement accounts, or simple long-term assets will compound your money faster than you expect. Getting to 100,000 is where the game changes. This is the milestone where compounding finally starts working in your favor. At this stage, the focus shifts again from simply earning and saving to building systems of wealth. To go from 100,000 to 1 million, you need leverage. And leverage comes in many forms: investing, business ownership, real estate, or building scalable income streams. The key here is that your money starts working harder than you do. Think about it this way: a 10% return on 10,000 is only $1,000, but a 10% return on 100,000 is 10,000. That's the point where money growth starts to feel real. At this stage, your investments are no longer just numbers on a screen. They're producing the equivalent of months of living expenses without you having to trade extra hours for it. That's when you finally see the power of capital working harder than you. To get to 1 million, you need to put your money into vehicles that scale beyond your own hours. Your labor has limits: 24 hours in a day, finite energy, and even less time for deep focus. But capital, once deployed, doesn't sleep. Stocks, real estate, equity in businesses, or even building a company of your own. These are the tools that carry you forward while you're eating dinner or sleeping. Each of them carries risk, yes, but they also carry the potential for compounding on a much larger scale than saving alone. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just about investments. It's about the shift in mindset. Up until now, you've been wired to think, how do I save more? How do I squeeze a few more dollars from my paycheck? But crossing six figures demands a new question. How do I build assets that produce income on their own? If you never make that shift, you plateau. You'll save diligently, keep a solid emergency fund, maybe even dabble in investments, but you'll never break free of the time for money trade. This is why so many people stall in the low six figures. They stay stuck because they keep playing defense, saving, budgeting, cutting, but never transition to offense, building, scaling, and owning. To reach 1 million, you have to take calculated risks. Not reckless bets, but intelligent risks where the downside is managed and the upside compounds for years. That's how ordinary people break through the ceiling. Another piece of the puzzle is patience. From 0 to 10,000, you might see progress in months. From 10,000 to 100,000, you can often see the results of your effort within a few years. But from 100,000 to 1 million, the slope stretches out. This part of the journey often takes a decade or more. And this is where most people quit, not because they're incapable, but because it feels too slow. What they don't realize is that wealth at this stage grows silently. It's like watching a tree. For years, the roots dig deep underground where no one can see them. Then one day it shoots upward, and people call it overnight success. But you know the truth. The compounding was happening the whole time, just below the surface. If you can outlast the boredom and resist the temptation to chase shortcuts, you win. The most overlooked part of this journey isn't the money itself. It's the habits that carry you between stages. To go from 0 to 10,000, you need raw discipline. Learning to say no, staying consistent, and proving to yourself you can save. To go from 10,000 to 100,000, you need skill, the ability to earn more, negotiate, learn profitable skills, and grow your gap between income and expenses. But to go from 100,000 to 1 million, you need vision, the ability to see beyond today's paycheck to build systems, assets, and structures that continue to grow without your constant input. Each stage demands a new version of yourself. The habits that got you to 10,000 will not get you to 100,000. And the habits that got you to 100,000 will not carry you to 1 million. If you try to use the same playbook everywhere, you'll stall out. That's why self-awareness matters as much as math. You have to ask, am I playing the right game for my stage? The biggest mistake people make is comparison. They look at someone already sitting on 1 million and assume they're behind. They don't realize they're simply at a different stage of the same journey. Someone at 0 cannot copy the playbook of someone at 100,000, just as someone at 100,000 cannot copy the playbook of someone already managing millions. Every stage has its own rules. Your only real competition is the earlier version of yourself. So if you're starting at 0, your mission is survival and discipline, proving you can earn, save, and stabilize. If you're in the 5 to 10,000 range, your mission is growth and avoiding lifestyle creep. Build income streams while keeping costs controlled. If you're closing in on 6 figures, your mission is to start investing consistently and let compounding finally take over. This is the point where small amounts invested regularly begin to make a visible difference. A few $100s invested monthly might not feel like much at the start, but once you're at this level, compounding starts to accelerate. Every dollar is no longer just savings, it's working capital, silently multiplying in the background. And if you're aiming for 1 million, your mission is to build scalable systems, businesses, investments, and portfolios, and then stay patient long enough for the snowball to gather unstoppable momentum. At this stage, you cannot rely solely on your job or your ability to save. The wealth you're building has to exist outside of your daily labor. It comes from ownership, equity, and cash-flowing assets that can grow whether you're working or not. The path is not easy, but it is clear. 0 to 10,000 proves you can handle money, that you can cut unnecessary expenses, stay disciplined, and create a buffer between you and emergencies. 10,000 to 100,000 proves you can grow money, that you've learned to increase your income, manage debt, and build a financial foundation strong enough to survive setbacks. And 100,000 to 1 million proves you can build lasting wealth, that you're able to think in decades instead of months. Use compounding to your advantage and take calculated risks that position you for exponential growth. Each stage sharpens a different part of you, your discipline, your skill, and finally, your vision. Discipline is what gets you started. Skill is what helps you advance. Vision is what carries you through the long game when progress feels invisible. If you can master all three, 1 million stops being a dream and becomes the logical result of time and consistency. At that point, wealth is no longer just money in the bank. It's a system you've built that will continue